Welcome to Retirement Rescue Radio, a show specifically designed to help retirees and pre-retirees maximize their financial efficiency so you can live the retirement lifestyle you've always imagined. Your host is Nate Miller, investment advisor representative and author of the CPR Retirement Rescue Roadmap. Nate discusses thoughts and ideas from some of today's most knowledgeable professionals in the field of finance. He offers strategies along the way to help you make better financial decisions so you can maximize your retirement. This is Retirement Rescue Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Retirement Rescue Radio, or should I say Retirement Windbag Radio? We've got Retirement Redneck Windbag. That's it. That's what it is, because we've got both me and Josh here today. So Josh, say hi.
How's everybody going?
We're just going to be a couple of redneck retirement advisors going through some thoughts on retirement. So we might just formally call that segment that, but I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know, but let's go ahead and get this redneck windbag episode going here. So,
all right. So we got a few.
Stan says, I'm thinking of having my mom sign her house over to me so that she won't have to sell it if she goes into the nursing home and runs out of money. Is this a smart move?
Yeah, well, maybe not. So first off, I'd say, are you an only child? So if mom's signing over the house just to you, are there any other kids that might want that house? I would wonder about that. And two, you may need to know that as long as, either the Medicaid beneficiary or their spouse, which I don't know from the question whether or not your dad is still in the picture or not. But if the beneficiary or the spouse does live in the home, Medicaid cannot take the home or force a sale. And matter of fact, all 50 states and DC actually have what's called Medicaid estate recovery programs, or MERP for short. And those programs, they used to be optional, but became mandatory with the passing of the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1993. And so what happens now is, following a death of a Medicaid recipient, the MERPs can attempt to be reimbursed the funds in which the state paid for long-term care for that individual. And that could be for in-home care, that could be community-based care, that could be adult daycare, you name it, nursing home care. But you need to note that with the exception of nursing home care, if the deceased Medicaid recipient wasn't 55 years old or older, they are actually exempt from the MERP. So being exempt means that the state will not attempt to reimburse any of the funds that were used to pay for Medicaid. So that's good. So using that estate recovery program to get reimbursed, that's really the way that these companies are going to do that. And it's often the only asset a deceased Medicaid applicant still has of any significant value, the home. And to be clear, the estate recovery does not apply when the Medicaid recipient's still living. It only applies when they pass away and they're unmarried. All right. And so, said another way, if a Medicaid applicant dies and still has a living spouse, Medicaid cannot attempt to recover those long-term care costs. And most states have a limited time frame also, generally 1 year following the death of a Medicaid recipient. You might want to check your own state to find out what that is. And so they've really only got 1 year after that Medicaid recipient passes away to try to file for any type of estate recovery. So that's if you're married. If your mom is single, when she relocates to a nursing home, what you'll want to do is provide a written statement that indicates a, quote, intent to return home. For those of you that can't see, if you're not watching this on YouTube, I've got air quotes going on. Intent to return home, right? That will allow your home to remain exempt under Medicaid rules, as long as you have an equity interest under a specified value, which I think usually starts around $600,000. And so essentially that intent to return home statement protects your home from Medicaid while you're in the nursing home facility. And without that, then your home would make you ineligible for Medicaid. So therefore, you'd have to sell it and then use the proceeds for your nursing home care until you finally were eligible for Medicaid. So if you do opt for that intent to return home statement, you got to remember that expenses for the home, like property taxes, insurance, mortgage, if you still got one, right? Those are still going to need to be paid. And without any, friends or family that might be there to help cover the costs of those home expenses, that's usually not feasible given the small Medicaid asset limit, generally $2,000 for assets, and personal care allowance is about anywhere from like $30 to $100 a month for a person on nursing home Medicaid. So the majority of one's income is required to go towards the cost of the nursing home, and not towards, the property taxes or the mortgage, if that's still there, right? And so the problem with that, though, is if the state believes that your stay in a nursing home is going to be a permanent arrangement, they can file a lien against your home. Now, what that does not mean is that you have to sell it immediately. It does not mean that. It simply means that when your house is sold, the state will receive money from the sale to reimburse them the cost of the Medicaid funded care first, right? And so if the home is still sold while you're alive, obviously the proceeds from the sale are going to disqualify you from Medicaid until you've spent those down as well. So you don't want to do that. You don't really want to sell your house until after you have passed, or you don't want your house sold until after you pass, because you're not going to be the one doing the selling. So upon your death, though, that's when the state is able to file a claim against your estate, which could include your home, in order to collect those funds. There's also, if you wanted to try to put that into some type of irrevocable trust, the problem with that is there is a 5-year look back on that in most states. You might want to talk with an estate planning attorney on whether or not that makes it right, or whether or not any of those things would be right for you. In this case, the irrevocable trust 5-year look back, obviously you're going to want to do that far before you might think that you're going to need any type of long-term care needs. And this is kind of an appropriate topic, I think, because November is supposed to be Long-Term Care Awareness Month, right? I mean, who knew? Do you know, Josh?
No, I didn't, but it's
most people don't. Yeah, it's not really that fun of an awareness month, right?
No, not really.
Yeah.
But also, you had come out with another episode here recently talking about filial law. And the nursing homes being able to go after your family members if the one that is in the nursing home does not have assets. Some states can come after the family members, so definitely check that episode out as well.
Siblings, kids, you name it. And that might have been just like 2-3 episodes ago, I think.
Yeah.
So I guess scroll up or scroll down, or whichever way your podcast player is working there.
Yeah.
So,
yep, it's a good one. So, all right, next one. Bill says, I have 2 rental properties that both have mortgages on them. I got enough money in investments that I could pay off both properties, but I'm getting enough in rent to cover the mortgages. So do I even need to pay them off?
Well, I'm going to give my standard answer first, which is to really give you an answer here. I probably need to look at your entire financial situation to find out whether that makes sense.
It depends.
Exactly. It's the big fat, it depends, right? We always love to hear that. So other than just it depends, so I guess some things that you might want to think about before making that choice is, one, what is the mortgage rate? If you got some low enough rates, you might be good there. What's your net cash flow? Like you said, you're getting enough in rent to cover the mortgages. Do you have any extra over and above that? And it could maybe make sense to sell and reinvest those. But here's another question: are they a headache for you right now? You say when you're getting ready to retire yet, you have enough money? No, I guess it doesn't say if you're retired or not. So I would want to know that as well, if you are retired or not, what your feelings are towards these, because we do run into a lot of people that if they're self-managing their properties, some of them, they just want to be done. They would rather just collect a check without having to deal with all of those headaches than deal with the headaches. And so that would be another question. The other thing about if you're going to take money out of your investments, and so in order to pay these off, what type of accounts are you pulling those from? If you're pulling those from IRAs, you're going to have to pull out far more than what the cost of the mortgage is just to pay the taxes on whatever it is that you took out. And so that may not be the best place to pull. If you've got Roth, obviously that would be tax-free. So that wouldn't be a bad spot if you were going to do that. Or if you were, depending on your tax bracket, and you had long-term capital gains in a non-qualified account, then that could be it. But honestly, it's going to have to be an individual question. You might also get hit with capital gains taxes if you do decide to sell the properties. So taxes if you take money out of your investments to pay them off, or if you sell them, you might have capital gains taxes as well. And we do have some strategies that could help you, either avoid or defer paying those capital gains taxes to where you could either pay a much lower amount, or if structured right, maybe even none. But that would have to be the right situation. I need to know what the rest of your income scenario really look like from a tax standpoint as well, because there's some strategies that we've even implemented even with our own parents in the sale of the farm that have been able to help defer some of the capital gains taxes from the sales. So you have a few different options, obviously, that I just threw out there at you, but not one single one of those is probably going to be the answer. So I would definitely have to take a look at what your individual situation was to really understand it and give you an accurate advice there.
I'm going to make a picture with something about depends. And whenever somebody asks a question, I'm just like going to raise that up. Says it depends.
Yeah, hopefully it's not like the kind of depends that you have to wear when you get older. Don't make it that picture. That's every time I say that word, it depends. I'm just like yeah.
No, they just don't. That's not right.
No, it's not right.
All right. So next one, Frank says, I know that I need an emergency fund, but instead of keeping money in a savings account, can't I just use my home equity line if I need money in a pinch?
Here's where you put up the little icon. It depends. No. So anyway, you can, but what if the real estate market in your area isn't so favorable, or it could be like in 2008 when some of those lines of credit were frozen. So then you wouldn't be able to use it. If it's a normal situation, you could get one and just let it sit there, unused, right? It's just there. You could tap into it if you need to. That's great. So you'd have to get it before you need it. It's like, don't wait until you need a line of credit to try to get a line of credit, because then that's when you normally cannot get a line of credit. But honestly, I would just say get an emergency fund. Most people, that's a better idea than just trying to use equity from your home to do that. And plus, if you end up selling the home, obviously that whatever you got in on your line of credit has to be paid back too. So then your heirs would have to deal with all that. So it's just, if you're gonna need some type of emergency fund, get an actual emergency fund. Don't try to use your home as an ATM, really.
Yep. All right. So Tom says, we don't have much saved for retirement, but we're about to sell our farm for just over $1 million. We've never really invested in the market before, so we don't really know what we're doing. Where do we start with this new money?
It depends. Okay. So first off, congratulations for asking a professional before you actually received the money. That's a sign of financial intelligence right there. And really, you need to start with some type of financial plan. It's pretty much that simple. What does this money need to do for you? When we develop our retirement rescue roadmap, we have to find out exactly what someone's situation is, what your income looks like, where those income sources are coming from, the tax treatment of all of that. There could be a huge capital gain from the sale of this farm as well, because I know most farms tend to be in the family for a long time. So you've probably depreciated anything out that you probably could. Your basis might be next to zero at this point. So this $1 million, that's going to bump you up into the highest tax bracket. So you're going to be paying the highest capital gains tax. You're taking all of that all at once. And so once again, I mentioned that there might be some things that we can do in order to help you defer or possibly even avoid paying some, if not all of those capital gains. And then figure out some type of an adequate distribution, basically figure out a way to give you income off of it if that's something that you need in the most tax advantaged way possible. So there's a lot that you can do. You've got options. I want you to know that you definitely have options, but yeah, so what you do with it could depend on a lot of moving parts, and we just need to find out what those moving parts are.
Yep, there's always options on what to do with your money, and it is basically just what are you wanting it to do. Mm-hmm. You got one of your earlier videos about you asked. It's not a guy asking the question, but you go through the purposes of money. I think it's the six purposes of money, something like that.
I think so.
Yeah, there'll be a link to it somewhere in the description here. So, okay, last one for the day. Mary says, I wasn't planning to move, but my dream home just came on the market, and we're in a pretty good market right now, depending on where you live. But real estate's been pretty fast moving here lately. So but she says my current home is paid off, but I have to take out a mortgage if I bought this one. I'm retiring in 5 years, so is it a bad idea for me to have a mortgage?
It depends again. Okay, so that's going to get old quick.
Yeah, that's old.
Yeah. So a couple things on there. Maybe yeah, maybe no, because it depends on a few things. One, are you comfortable having a mortgage? Some people are, some people aren't. I remember talking with my dad when they moved out to Colorado, and what would be better from a financial standpoint for them. Obviously, with rates as low as they were, it made more sense to get a mortgage, invest the money, and earn a higher return on it than paying the 2.75 or 3% or whatever it was that they got, for the mortgage. And, otherwise that's just all gone. All that money is just not doing anything for you. So there's that. And two, the question is, well, what's your cash flow look like? Do you have enough right now to pay for it? In within 5 years, I don't know how large this mortgage has to be for you to get the house, but will you have it paid off in 5 years? Could you have it paid off in 10 years? When you retire, are you still going to be able to have enough cash flow to pay that mortgage, or, to pay it completely off, and it doesn't impact your income plan, meaning you're not going to run out of money if you decide to get this house. And so ultimately that means you probably need some kind of a plan. If you haven't gotten a written financial plan or written retirement income plan, you probably need to do that. And it can help answer that question of, should you get a mortgage? Because if it all works out and it's your dream home, why not? And it doesn't say here whether or not you're married at this point, but you are just using the word I. So I'm assuming you might be single at this point. But yeah, once again, big fat, it depends on what your situation looks like. And I would say also, if getting that mortgage keeps you from investing, if I'm assuming you're investing for retirement right now, but if it keeps you from continuing to be able to invest in any of those retirement plans, because now that money is being redirected to the mortgage, I'm not a big fan of that. So if you can do this without impacting your retirement plan savings, and you've got the cash flow now and even in retirement to do it, if the mortgage lasts that long, then maybe it could be good. But I think I'd like to dig in a little bit more and find out what your situation really looks like before completely answering that question.
Yeah, all these questions, there's several factors we got to help you work through to come out with the best option for you. So it's always a good time to talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about.
Yep. And once again, asking this question before you do it does show financial intelligence. The one thing that I know that financial advisors hate to hear is, hey, I did X, Y, Z. What do you think? Or I shouldn't have done X, Y, Z. I probably should have came to you first. Can you help? Probably not at that point, depending on what it is. So yeah, ask me how I know that.
You've only heard it a time or three.
Only a couple. Yeah, exactly.
So,
is that it for the day?
Yeah, I think that's it for this episode of the Redneck Windbag. So, where can they send in some more questions for us to answer?
Yeah. More questions at asknate@retirementrescueradio.com. And, we'll get the answers out to you before we actually answer them on air. That way you've got, you don't have to wait until it comes out to get your answer. However, it's kind of cool, I think, for those that have been had their questions answered on air. They're like, hey, that was my question, So yeah. Let's see. And then also, like I said, Josh is going to link to those couple episodes, I think, that we mentioned, the Filial Law, and then the other one, the video. I think it was a video, not necessarily a podcast.
Yeah, the 6 purposes of money.
Yep. So those will be in there. And then, just check out our other MRG channel and keep tuning in here also every single week, because we want to continue bringing you guys content to help empower you to live the retirement you deserve.